starting with our next talk by Nadheesh Jihan. He is a technical lead at WSO2, and today he will be speaking on From Code to Production, Building Scalable GenAI Applications. Over to you.
Hello, everybody. So, I think it's good afternoon. So, today we are going to do this talk on how we can build a GenAI application, a scalable GenAI application. And one of the important thing is when we talk about GenAI applications, they are going to be similar to other applications. And I mean, they are doing certain GenAI stuff, but it's not going to be very different from normal Python applications. So, that's why we take this as a code example, and we are trying to tell you how we can bring your code, I mean Python code scripts, into production. So before moving forward, let's try to understand what is GenAI. So what is GenAI? Is it a different thing from AI? No, it's not, right? So it's just another category of AI which was available from some time ago as well. And now it has become high because we have invented a lot of large language models, those kind of things. And the specialization of GenAI is they can generate stuff like text, images, audio. And there are a lot of use cases that have arrived with GenAI because of these new capabilities that we have seen. So why GenAI have become more sexy now, right? So why GenAI have become a more game changer? It's because the GenAI is now applicable with multiple use cases. Unlike before, when we have machine learning models, they were specifically trained for a single task. It's not the case anymore. And also they are very accurate on most of these tasks. And also they are, I mean, most of them are pre-trained and readily available for your use. So you don't have to spend a lot of time on training these machine learning models anymore. And other thing is they are available as APIs as well. So you can just easily integrate them. You don't have to worry about deploying machine learning models anymore. So that's a big advantage for even general developers. And the other thing is, since they are exposed as APIs, you don't need any AI expertise as well. So any general developer can come and build GenAI applications now. So this is a vast domain. So anybody can make use of that if you understand the basic principles of building GenAI applications. Yeah. So why we think Python is a best language? I mean, one of the best language for building GenAI application. Of course, mainly it's because Python has a lot of GenAI support libraries. For example, Lineage is the main one. LangChain is the main one, and there are a lot of other libraries as well. And also Python already has these traditional machine learning libraries as well. And on the other hand, Python is very well tuned for writing experimental script and doing different stuff and running it very quickly without having to involve with a lot of deployment stuff. So you can just get a Jupyter notebook and try out multiple stuff you want. And again, Python is very user-friendly as well for any developer. On the other hand, now, when we have these kind of scripts, we want to bring them to the production as well, right? So for that also now Python has a lot of support. Python has a lot of web frameworks, Flask, Fast API, and also web application frameworks like Gradle, and also Streamlit. And also, unlike before, now Python can catch up with the performance as well with other most widely used languages, because we have this just in compilation, C extensions, and also concurrency and parallelism handling. Maybe one of the main examples is the async. I think you already had a talk on that as well. So because of these reasons, Python has become one of the best candidate for building GenAI applications. And before moving forward, I would like to give an introduction on a use case scenario that we are going to build through this talk, and also gonna get it to the production. So this use case scenario, what we want to do is, we have a bunch of users who want to upload their PDFs, and then they want to ask questions based on their PDFs. And also these users, they don't want to expose their PDFs to the other users. This is like a personalized chatbot. Only the user who uploads the PDF will get to ask questions on that PDF. So this is the use case scenario that we want to build. So let's think now how we can build this kind of a chat agent. So the most simplest approach, I think you all are familiar with ChatGPT, right? You all have used ChatGPT. So the most simplest way of doing this is you can just copy paste all the PDF text and give it to ChatGPT and say, hey, this is my text, and answer my question and give you a question. So that's the most simplest solution you can do. But the problem is there are a lot of challenges when you do like that, when you try to scale that. For example, the PDF can be very large, so maybe ChatGPT context window might not be able to handle that PDF. And also, you need to handle multiple PDF now, so you can't just manually copy paste all the PDFs one by one. So there is that scalability, right, issue. And also the other thing is, with LLM, if you have large prompts and large data input to that, then it will take a lot of time to give you a response, and also the accuracy will be significantly reduced. So there is that problem as well. On the other hand, the cost is going to be a problem. I mean, obviously you can't use ChatGPT for production level deployment, so you need to get the OpenAI API, and when you get that, that means you have to pay for all the tokens. So when you add large files, you have to pay for all those tokens that you are adding to the ChatGPT API. So that's going to be more expensive as well. So this solution is not going to work for us. So let's think like what kind of solution will work for us. So I think some of you might have heard this. There is this pattern called retrieval augmented generation. So we call it RAG. And this is one of the most widely adopted pattern to build chatbots where some knowledge base is involved. So in this scenario as well, what we can do is we can extract the text from the PDF and index them into a vector database like RAG do. And then what we can do is whenever we get a question, we ask this, the vector database has a capability to give us only the relevant documents to answer that question. So that's gonna narrow down, let's say we have 100 of pages, so it will narrow it down to 1 to 3 pages when we are trying to answer the question. So with that approach, we can solve all the challenges that we faced earlier. So those are the benefits of this RAG approach. So you can see in the diagram as well how it will work. So the user will ask a question, and we need an embedding model that's going to be responsible for basically getting a embedding that will help us to basically index our documents, and using that embeddings we can get the similar documents, because we know, you might have heard about this similarity, distance similarity, those kind of metrics. So that's the concept that we are using there. And then VectorDB will have all our documents, and whenever we get a new question, so it is capable of using similarity, cosine similarity or something like that to fetch the most, we can define the number of documents that we need, so it will give us most relevant documents like that, and then we will give those documents and ask our question from the LLM. So like that we can build a RAG pattern. Yeah, so now let's go into building this RAG pattern. So I'm not gonna go in depth into the code because we have already built this application. It is already available in GitHub, public GitHub repo. We will share that, with this slide, you can get that link as well, and you can go through it and try to understand, because it is pretty easy. We have commented everything there. And so the first step is basically we need to have where to upload the files. That means this step will be in basically chunking the documents into manageable sizes, and basically then getting the vector embeddings, and then storing them in the vector database. And in the next step, what we need is to do, we need to answer the questions, right? In that case, what we need to do is retrieve our documents from the vector database, and then basically use them in the prompt that we are sending to the LLM. So I think you are already aware of the prompts, right? Prompts is where we instruct the LLM to perform the task that we want them to do. So to build this, what we are using is mainly LangChain, because LangChain is a library that we can easily build these kind of applications. So you can see even these methods, these are from LangChain. So I don't have to write everything, from scratch right now, because they have already built this stuff. Okay, now we have some set of scripts, right? So, but definitely this is not going to be useful in production environment. This is not going to be useful for our users. This is going to be useful for us in our local environment, but beyond that, it's useless. So let's see how we can transform this into a maybe production ready web service in this scenario. So first thing I want to do is like I want to identify that Gen AI applications, they are really IO bound. So in IO bound scenarios, you have to wait till your response comes back from your API call, and that's a problem. So why that's the problem with Python is because Python is usually single threaded, because we have this JIT interlocker situation with Python. So Python won't be executed concurrently, even though we getting concurrent requests. So that's a problem with Python, limitation with Python, but that's no longer an issue for us because we have this asynchronous programming enabled with async IO. So we can use that to basically make Python non-blocking for IO. That means what that means is like it doesn't gonna wait till the response comes back to execute the next request. So until that next response comes back, it can go to the next user request and start executing that, so that it can concur. I mean, it's not actually true concurrency, but it is kind of virtual concurrency. So it's gonna basically handle multiple requests at the same time without blocking for all the API calls that we are going to do to the external APIs, like for example the LLM. So and for that also LangChain also have some support, because with LangChain we have this A load, I mean that means like async load, and also we have A add documents, that means again like this. So that is again mean like async add. So those kind of methods. So those things are inbuilt with LangChain, so you can basically get at this async benefits with LangChain as well. So that's how we have transformed this our code into an asynchronous execution. And the second thing is now we have transformed this into a web application, sorry, web service. So for that also we have multiple options. So, but we have gone with this asynchronous framework called Fast API, because that with that we can get the asynchronous benefits to the maximum level. So and then you can see like how we can have basically transformed this. I mean, we have defined two resource functions, for one for uploading and the other one for asking questions. And also the script that we have defined earlier, I have defined them as methods now. So I'm executing them as method within this code block. So with this, we can transform our code as a high performant web service that is ready to be exposed to our users. And also you can find the code, I will share the site as well, so you can find the code here. And also we have 2 blog posts written just for you guys, so it will explain everything we have discussed in, I mean, we discuss it in briefly because we don't have enough time, but everything is explained in very detailed manner in those blogs, so you can go and refer to them if you have any doubts or anything like that. Yeah, so now we have a web service to the level that we can deploy it, but that's not gonna I mean basically finish our journey, because we have a lot of other things to do if we want to basically make this to the level that we can I mean get the true benefit of having a production ready environment. Like so for example, like now you can basically write a lot of deployment YAMLs, or basically get a VM and deploy your web service. That's one option you have, but that's not gonna scale well if you have a lot of other components as well. And also if you want to manage this to a certain level, I mean to have a software life cycle involved. So that's where the CI/CD can be very important, because with CI/CD you can basically get auto deployments options, and also you need to have version. Like for example, this right now we have option to upload files and basically to answer questions, but in the future, let's say we want to introduce a new option that they can also give the link to the web page, and also based on that we are starting to answer the questions. So that's a significant change to the API contract. In those scenarios you may need the versioning option as well, and start deploying a new version of your application while facilitating the old versions as well, because there will be some users who are using the old version. So you need versioning, and also you can't just bring your application into the production directly. That's gonna basically be a problem if you have any unforeseen bugs or anything like that, because just because it works with your local environment, that doesn't mean it will work with in the production as well. So for that scenario you need some sandbox kind of environment as well to test it out first, which is very similar, and which has to be almost similar to the production. And after that, once you are satisfied with the your testing, you can push that into the or promote that into the production environment. So that's the CI/CD story, and also that will not, I mean, basically end the journey, because the service that you are exposing has OpenAI involves. That means anybody using that service can now come and basically end your budget or the OpenAI quota, and also other access your vector DB data. So that's going to be another problem. So the security and authentication is another big problem when you are trying to get a production ready application deployed. So one thing can be the config management. So you have to manage your configurations, the secrets, the API keys, everything very securely. And also you have to secure your backend API. For example, this service, if you deploy it to the internet, anybody can come and access and get the benefit of that. But if you want to control that, we need to have some sort of a secured auth protocol in there. And also you are handling users data now. Maybe users are uploading now their private PDFs, so you can't let other users access them as well. So you have to make sure there is proper user management is involved, there's a login flow, and also maybe you have GDPR, those kind of constraints as well if you are doing enterprise production. So then in that case you have to be aware, I mean, have regional deployment as well. And again, you have to be, I mean, you can't just be satisfied with having fast API and async IO to make your application asynchronous, because as I said earlier, it is not going to be truly concurrent, truly multi-threaded. So for that, you have multiple options. One option is you can have a process manager like Unicorn, and then define now multiple workers and let it run. But there's a disadvantage with that, because all the workers are running all the time, so you have to allocate resources for all the workers. So the other most cost optimized option is to have something like horizontal auto scaling, those kind of strategies. Or there's this other more cost-effective option is the scale to zero, where you will scale based on number of requests coming to your web service. So if there are no requests are coming, then you can scale it down to zero. So there won't be any cost incurred for your deployment at those times. And the other thing is, now you can deploy your application and be happy with that, and then just I mean, basically not worry about that at all. But that's not going to be the case if you are having a production application. You have to keep monitoring that. You have to see how the latency is behaving, and also what are the error logs, so is there any errors happening. Also, if you are business minded, you have to see how many users are accessing this API actually, and also see whether there are any errors are going on, rise the error rate. Also, the other thing is you need to have some alert mechanism configured, because otherwise if there is an error or something has gone wrong, you won't know it until your user base has left you, right? So that's going to be the case. So these kind of things are really important if you are thinking of building production ready enterprise level applications. So that's where we have a solution called Courier, which is the inter-developer platform coming in to play. Yeah. So since I discussed like a lot of points, I think most of you maybe didn't get some of these things, but I think I will now take you through some of these capabilities I discussed earlier, so you will get a better understanding of how these things are ensured with our platform. But the bottom line is, anywhere, anything that you do, you don't have to use our platform, but anything you do, you have to make sure that you are basically adhering to those concepts, because that will make sure that you are doing you are providing a better service for your customers, and also you are ensuring the better best practices. And if you are an enterprise, that's make sure that you are not getting sued, right? So that's gonna be a problem otherwise. Yeah. So this is how it will look like if you when you log into Courier. So this is a organization that we are using for some of our R&D work. So we have multiple projects created here. Sorry. So you will be logged into this view, and from here. So the first thing now, since we want to deploy our GenAI application, so I will take that as an example and go through it, because first thing we need is, now we need a vector database, because we are, we discussed like we are using a vector database to index our PDFs. The second thing is we need the OpenAI account to get the LLM service. So the first thing what you can notice with Courier has this concept called dependencies, and through that you can create vector database as well. So if you go here, so you can see right now we have support to create only PostgreSQL SQL vector database, but in the future we are planning to support more vector databases. So I already have created one vector database here. So that is for our GenAI application that we discussed earlier. And if you go into this, you can see like there are a lot of all information which actually has the configurations of this vector database, and also we can since this is a database server now, we can create multiple databases inside this server. So I have already created this PDF store database. So sorry, the database. And also you can look at the logs, metrics, everything from this view that is related to your database. And also now OpenAI account, you have to anyway create that from the OpenAI end, because OpenAI side. So for that, actually, again, we have also some support, because we know, like, for especially for enterprises, you have a lot of developers working with this stuff, and only there is some people who are responsible for creating these accounts and managing these configurations. So then the problem is gonna be like how I'm gonna share these configurations or the API keys with my developers, or how can I configure them in the deployment. So that's gonna be a problem. We can't share them with the developers, because they can misuse that. Even though we trust them, they can be misplaced or leaked. So that's gonna be a problem. So in such cases, what we can do is we can create this GenAI. We can register GenAI services here. So in that flow, you can give your API key and basically let Courier handle that. So what will happen is, when you are deploying your GenAI application, it will allow you to create a connection to this GenAI service. So through that, you don't have, the developer don't have to know the credentials or the API keys. They can just create that connection and basically let Courier worry about injecting those environment variables into their deployments. So since now we have set up our dependencies, now let's go into like deploying our application. Because so one thing is, like I missed mentioning, like the code that we are developing, we need to have it in a certain Git repository. So for example, GitHub. So then only we can access that code, because just by having it in local machine, we can't access it. So assuming that we have already pushed it into GitHub, so we have to go and create the application. So here I click the create new, so it will create our first component. So here we can see there are a lot of component types. We have service, web application, API proxy. So since we are trying to deploy a backend service, we will go with the service component. And here we can give the name, and also we can configure the GitHub repository URL and basically connect to that. And now we come to the build packs. Now here we can specify the programming language or the framework that we are using. So in this case, we are using Python, but it doesn't have to be Python as well. If it is Java or Node.js, that also we can deploy. So there is no restrictions, but we will select Python here because we are using Python. And so since the time is limited, I'm not gonna basically create the component because it will take some time. So I already have created the component, and for the to save some time. So if you look at the components, so there are now, once it is created, we will see multiple things appearing on our left side panel. And the one thing is the build view. So in the build view, we can look at whether the component has been built successfully. If it has any build errors, we can view them from here. And also we can enable to auto build on commit, so it will be auto building every time when we push a change. So that's going to be very useful for certain type of developers. And also, once you have built your component, so you can go to build deploy view, and there you can see your build version appearing. And the thing is, like here I have already deployed. So usually when you come here first, you will see something like this. So then you will have to configure and deploy. And when you are doing configuring, you can define your environment variables if you have anything you want to add from outside. For example, here I have added the DB configurations just for to illustrate that as environment variables. And the other thing is, now I said we have to manage our secrets very carefully. So for that also we have a feature. What you have to do, only mark that as a secret, then we will take care of that. We have a keyword manager which will securely handle all the secrets that you are injecting. And then for example, I have also added one secret here. So all the values you can see which are not secrets, but this is a secret, so that is something you can't see. I mean, no developer or anybody can't access that and see those values. And once you deploy your application, so some of the other things you can do is like, so by default we have authentication enabled for your services. So you can disable it if you don't like it. I mean, not you don't like it, but if you have a requirement that you don't want it, so you can disable it. And the other option is you can secure only some of the API resources. Maybe I don't want to secure the upload PDF, only the ask question I want to secure, then I can control that as well. And this is without writing any code, because usually what we do is like we have to write a lot of code to basically get this to work. And the other thing is you can have rate limiting also configured. So we can go here, and here we have a lot of options like resiliency, security, rate limiting. So here we can configure the rate limiting for API level, resource level. There are a lot of these kind of options. Yeah, so the other thing is, once you have deployed this, you can also test this through the console as well. So you can do multiple requests to your application and see how it's going to work. So I'm not going to go through in detail with that. And also the other thing, there are a lot of other things, like you can check your metrics, like how much what's the latency of your application, because that's a very useful metrics for these kind of GenAI applications. You have to have some kind of SLAs, because the LLM APIs are very slow, I mean, usually. So you have to be very mindful with that. And the other thing is you can also use different scaling strategy to make it more scalable, because as I said, the performance is a concern when you build these kind of applications. So since I have already deployed the backend service, so I thought to demonstrate it, I need to basically deploy the front end as well. So that's something Kurio can do as well. So I have deployed this web application, which is the front end for this. Actually, I did a very simple thing. I used GenAI and say, okay, this is my backend specification, and ask it to generate me a front end. So, and it did that very well. So I deployed that, and now I have the front end also deployed here. So we can basically see and try it out. So once you deploy your front end, okay, one thing is, now since we are deploying our front end as well here, so the one thing is you have to do is to create a connection to your backend, because your backend is also deployed in Kurio. So that's also very easy with Kurio, because you can just create a connection and it will basically create the required credentials, or the configurations to connect to the your backend, and it will be appear as the development configurations, production configuration, because we have two environments. So the development front end will be connected to development, like that you can manage it. So let's go to the deploy page, and once it is deployed, we can see this web app URL, and if you click that, you can just go to your web application. And this, since I'm deployed after some time, so it will take a little bit time. Okay, so it took longer than I expected, but yeah, it's here finally. So I will demo a scenario where, so I came from Sri Lanka actually, so because our development base in Sri Lanka, so when I came from Sri Lanka, I had a lot of questions like what kind of stuff I can carry with me, and what are the taxes for certain stuff if I take from here to Sri Lanka, those kind of questions. So let's take that scenario and let's try to see how we can accommodate for that. So I will quickly go through it. So I have this document that is on this custom related information. So I will upload that quickly because we have less time. And I have disabled these text fields, so we can't type anything until it is uploaded. So it will take a little bit time because it is going to index all the text content within the PDF. And it was a big PDF actually. Yeah, so it is uploaded, so I can ask what are the item flying. So I have a spelling mistake, let's not worry about that. Yeah, so it will answer me. And also I can ask can I carry alcohol, something like that, and it will say what's going. I mean, whether I can. Yeah, I say I can carry up to 2 liters. What if I carry 5 liters? So see, I have also make it conversation aware. So I don't have to specify. The information, other information again and again. So it knows like what I have asked again before. Like I have asked about the alcohol, right? So it's saying, okay, if I carry 5 liters, then I can only carry 2 for free. Less for the rest of 3, I have to pay tax. Okay, so this is the demo part of it. So I will go to the conclusion because we don't have a lot of time. Sorry, I'll take 1 more minute. Yeah. So the conclusion is like with Gen AI now building intelligent application has become very easy. So that's the area I think as Python developers you might want to consider and basically explore. The other thing is when you are taking this application from development to production or scripts to actual web services, there will be a lot of challenges. So you have to basically think about how you can overcome these challenges, and that will require a lot of code optimizations and also right deployment platform to help you with that. And the other thing is you can see in this diagram also like how we have, it's not a very detailed diagram because I make it simpler for you. So how different technologies has come to help you when you build these kind of production ready applications. Okay, thank you everybody. I hope you learned something new and wish you all the best.